everyone. Thank you for coming today to another UniVirtual Experience event in collaboration with educators in VR and the Virtual World Society. Before we start this event today on the FrameVR platform, I want to say a couple of words of thanks to our sponsors, in particular HP, our Infinity sponsor, who's given us their generous backing to make this event possible, as well as our Galaxy sponsors Engage and Avantis Education. We also are lucky to have stellar sponsors with Grove XR, the VR lady, Angelina Dayton, Donna McTaggart of Let's Meet in VR, our amazing event manager and director at Educators in VR and the UniVirtual Experience. FrameVR is also sponsoring us, which is fantastic. The LearnBright educational platform, our amazing team of videographers, and in particular, Tony Coop Studios, who makes some of the most compelling captures I've seen in VR and is very, very supportive of what we're doing in general. And with that, guys, I'm going to hand over to our amazing team of showcase guides. Over to you, guys.
Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are. I'm Brian Richards. I just say a brief word. I noticed we have one or two new visitors. If you just logged in and you're showing anonymous, we recommend that you log in and change your name so that when we move from frame to frame, we know who you are. Thanks.
For those of you outside, feel free to enter this cubicle if you want. That's it. Lovely, Stephen. Thank you. We have one or two avatars outside as well. Yeah, we're a friendly bunch.
Drew, do you want to set us off?
Very well. Well, thank you everyone for coming to this FrameVR showcase event. Once again, special thanks to Educators in VR, Virtual World Society, and all of the sponsors. We've got a short tour for you today featuring 4 different frames in FrameVR. My name is Drew Stone. I run a event production company in VR called Lycosium. And Brian here is a talented educator and 360 photographer. And so Brian, would you please show us to your first frame here?
Indeed. Okay. So the way this is going to work is we all have to click on the frame we're going to enter. I can't bring you with me. So the first frame we're going into is my 360 photography workshop. And then if we just click on that frame and you'll get a link, just follow that link and we'll meet you in that frame.
I'll stay behind to help anyone who has any issues.
Thanks.
You go for it. So again, you want to click on the image, the photograph where Brian is standing. Should bring up a link. You accept the link and it takes you there. Is that working for you guys?
Maybe.
Interesting.
So does the box come up and with a couple of choices?
We're just going to wait for another moment while the avatars
you should.
pop
It
in.
has 360
And then
workshop,
Brian is going to be
zoom in,
giving
link,
a brief
cancel. You
presentation
should
of
hit
this
the link.
space and showcasing some of the features here.
to use a combination of zoom and frame, which work really well. And so this is the frame, or one of the frames that I developed for that workshop. And as you can see from the title, it's a workshop about 360 video. And I created a PowerPoint, which is very easy to put into Frame. You just create a PDF file and you can just post it on the wall. And that's the kind of tool I used. The great thing about using Frame for 360, of course, is that it's 360 and it's 3D. So I'm able to actually demonstrate to the class what it's like to actually be inside a 360 photograph. So for example, I can change the skybox. And if you look around, you'll now find we're in the World Trade Center. And in fact, from that, I can actually switch off the background, the environment that we're in.
Is there something wrong with the audio here? Because I cannot hear anyone talking.
You can't? Can anybody else hear me? Okay.
Brian, I can hear you.
You can. Yeah. I think if you're having a problem hearing, or you could convey it to them that they need to best refresh their browser. That's probably the best route. So I'll carry on. So I can show my environment, and I can actually remove the environment and the assets, and then we're actually inside the 360 image, which is an example that I gave to the class. From there, I'll go back to the environment again. Okay.
Anonymous, I see you moving. Are you able to unmute yourself, Anonymous? Right. You can't unmute yourself, it won't let you. If you click on the frame rate, if you turn it, do a 180 and click on that image, does the box come up and let you select link?
I'd really recommend at the moment that people don't unmute. We'd like to try and keep Q&A toward the end, and it's easier for the flow of the event if you just keep muted.
Who's hearing me right
now? As long as
now?
you can hear, that's the main thing. Just give me an emoji that you can
Which
hear.
room? I'm in logged in twice for some stupid reason. That's the problem. I got two windows open.
Just close one of the
So I got to close it. Yeah. And now I got to refresh.
So as I was saying, this frame is basically a kind of lecture teaching frame that I can use. I've got a number of scenes set up in this frame. So I can actually change. If you look around, you'll see now I'm going to change the scene. This scene is actually about using a different method of 360 photography, where you're using a kind of complex camera arrangement, somewhat akin to on the screen, where you're using some kind of head, panoramic head, and I can actually illustrate that by switching on the this model here and demonstrating the method by just rotating the camera around, which is the method that is used traditionally for creating 360 photographs. So this frame consists of a number of scenes. The third scene is an example which includes a drone, which can be used for aerial 360 photography. And again, that asset that's brought in there is a 3D object with animation, which again Frame supports. And on the back screen, you'll see behind you, if I switch back, I've used a whiteboard, which you can actually draw on, but I've used this whiteboard really to illustrate some of the techniques used in the class for 360 photography.
I'm in.
Good.
Thank you guys for your patience. We
It's
were
okay.
helping a few of the people navigate.
We've got a
Turns
few
out,
other people coming in.
Firefox failed on me for some reason. Firefox is not a good browser for this.
Firefox
Okay,
is not recommended, actually.
unfortunately,
Chrome is recommended.
something we realized is that when you click the link, it opens a new browser tab.
Yeah.
Then close the previous browser tab down. That
Right.
can help.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Changed my life.
Okay, over to you
Okay.
guys.
So how are we doing for time, Drew?
No.
Not good. Okay. So the fourth frame here, again, is another example of a 360 photograph. I can just show you. This was shot in Times Square, in fact. So if I just turn off the environment for a moment. There we go. There you can see this was actually shot with a handheld camera over my head, actually in 360. So there you are in the middle of Times Square. I think in 2012 that was taken. So that's another example of what you can illustrate within Frame. It's a full 360 view. So I just wanted to illustrate the kind of assets and the kind of things that you can do within Frame within this class. Obviously, the way I used it with the students was I started off in Zoom, I gave them some demonstrations, and then I actually brought them into the class by sending them a link through Zoom, and then they were able to join rather like you are now. And associated with this were two other frames, which were galleries, where I showed examples of other kinds of 360 photography, and then where students could actually post project work. So I used the gallery frames for that. Okay, I think we're probably running out of time on this frame. And so if you'd like to move back to the original frame, if you have the original tab open, you can use that. Otherwise, you're going to have to put in the address, the original address for this event, which is UniVirtual.
Brian?
Yes.
If you're in Chrome, you can use Control-Shift-T on your keyboard. It reopens your last browser tab.
Thank you very much.
Cool.
Wonderful. There you go.
Well
Control-Shift-T. I do recommend only having one frame tab open at any time, though.
I think you're right.
So when the next one opens, close this one down.
Okay, your avatar stayed back here the whole time.
Yeah, I left that.
There we go.
The better judgment of my battery power.
FrameVR.io/UniVirtual.
And thanks for Sage to drop it in the chat. That's easy to copy and paste. And thank you very much, Brian, for showing us just a little taste of the educational course that you do there in Frame. Next up for us, if we've got everyone back here, let's see, we have 11 online. I think so. Maybe we're going to get one or two more people in. But one of the next frames that we're going to be showing here is really rich. There's a lot of different uses for what Frame can do inside of our next tab here by MakroFactory. So you can all join me, and I will show you just a little bit about what's in here. Please click on the frame, and I'll see you there.
Which frame are we clicking on, guys? I just got here.
Should be this one right
on the
here.
next one around, it says MakroFactory.
Okay, great.
And attendance happening. Oh, I should put on my camera. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Gabe, it works good. Only it's, I wish I could drag it right underneath my camera so it looks like I'm looking right at you. But this is a really detailed and feature-rich frame put on here by MakroFactory Virtual Worlds. So there's a couple of things that are here that are really interesting. So if you'll notice on the ground in some of these office spaces, you'll see a blue line, and that's an audio zone. So when you are inside of that audio zone, you can only hear or be heard by others that are in that audio zone, and you'll hear this little audio chirp when you move in and out of that space. Representative media that plays or opens into new new websites, and you can bring in 3D models and all these things. So this one is great to explore. Please go ahead and wander around a little bit. Go ahead and click on the links, check out some of the media. I don't believe that any of the links will take you out of this frame, so they should be safe for you to check out. Let me get out of here. So down underneath the center, all kinds of high quality graphics you can put down, media that plays on mouse over. And I'm going to try and stay out of an audio zone so that people can hear me if they need. So this is a great example for how a showroom might look, or various different product demos. Easy to easy to learn, tough to master, I guess. But bringing in 3D assets, other types of media that you'd like to do. So we also have this, it's a multi-level type of space. You'll be able to, design within your own campus however you want it to look. So now you can see this floor plan area, as well as the kind of like public seating areas where your voice is normally heard, not in an audio zone. But now, please follow me upstairs. And you'll see here, this is some of the core members of the team that have put together this space. I am not fluent in German, so I cannot translate for you, but they did. I think they've done a marvelous job with this space. And so it really is a really nice one to showcase FrameVR.
Yeah, it feels quite professional. There's something like professional in terms of event space and presenting companies about it. It's good.
And of course, with all of these frames, as you develop them, you can add new scenes or skyboxes to change the tone of the event. Nighttime, daytime, that perfect sunset that you got on the beach in Mazatlan or something. So I think this is a really well done space.
Hey, Drew, and just real fast, I know something interesting I know Stefan was doing, it might not be active now, but he had these little buttons. If you wanted to book like a demo with them, you could click, and one of the features in Frame, you can make a notification link so that when people click a button, it sends you an email or a text or a Slack message. And I know at some point they had this cool thing going on where, like, if you did a little scavenger hunt, then somehow that button opened up into view, and then you could click it to like book a demo. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I hadn't seen that one yet, but that's great functionality, right? That's one of the things for business. You need a call to action, and to have that be as easy as possible for people to have fun and engage in immersive spaces like this.
Yep.
Unfortunately, because I did not design this space, there's not very many questions that I feel capable to answer about it. But I do want to invite us over to our next showcase, which is the Animalia. So, and one of the other features for Frame here is you'll notice on your tab that you can hit just the back button. So this was opened in a discrete tab. You can go back to the showcase event where we started, and then we'll be continuing on to Animalia, and Anthony will be able to share with us a little bit of background on that one. So without further ado, click back on the button. Thank you. Oh, and Anthony has dropped it in the frame. Megaphone, there we go. Great job, everyone. Thanks for hanging on through this this brief showcase tour in FrameVR. Up next for us is this Animalia space, and we're fortunate enough to have Anthony here to help explain and guide and discover the project. If you are a fan of art, you're going to love this one. Especially one of the things that I've really been missing is going to art museums and taking my time investigating a piece of work. So please join me by clicking the frame here, Animalia.
We're all pros now. It's working much more smoothly.
One of the things that really struck me about this
The,
is
the third frame. It's the
Sorry.
yes, the third frame is the Animalia frame.
Yeah. This is where you could close the tab on the previous one, I think, for the echo.
Oh yes, good idea. Yes, please do. And thank you, Sage, for dropping the link in
And there we go.
the chat.
Same problem.
So I was actually really impressed with the quality, the fidelity of the images that are in here. But I would really like to invite Anthony. Anthony, would you care to unmute and help describe and explain the space?
Yeah, awesome. Well, welcome everyone to Animalia.
There's still people coming in.
Beautiful.
Hey.
This was my first foray into FrameVR. I had dabbled with Mozilla Hubs before and building art galleries, and then encountered FrameVR and all of Gabe and his team's amazing work. And I said, let's try it out. The hard part was getting a teacher to agree to giving me content. So I talked with a teacher this school year at the middle school, and I said, hey, just give me content. I will put it in a virtual gallery. And we could showcase it with the world. And look, here we are. So this is a project that the students had engaged with. And if you look here, that'll kind of give you a description of what the project is about and what it covers. These are Kodiak Middle School students. I'm based in Kodiak, Alaska. And I would like to say that we're making pretty big strides and splashes in the world of Web XR. By developing spaces like this and sharing them with the world. So it's through the fidelity of the images, that was something I had to really consider. You know, in Alaska, we're pretty limited in some places by internet connectivity. I'm fortunate to live in a place that has pretty fast internet connection, but there are other communities in Alaska and around the world that do not have fast internet connection. And I feel it's very important that Web XR should be available to all users to engage with. And while, you know, we look at other frames and we go, wow, this is amazing, all the content in there, we would always just need to be cognizant of different types of users and what they can do. So on that note, I optimized all of these images a lot with the help and support of Gabe. And in the images that are on the wall are not individual images, but rather they're one large image with multiple images on it. And then I would use what's called the Squish app to optimize that image even further. Now you can only optimize PNG images so well, and hopefully that technology will improve down the road. But what you see are pretty well optimized. I think each image is sitting around 1 megabyte, if not less than 1 megabyte. And we helped maintain the quality of the images with that. So that was also really interesting and fun to do, was figure out the size of the images, how big they need to be in order for it to look good. If you look at this part right here, this was something I was playing around with in Vectary, and I'm sure there's other applications that can do this. I really like the transparency of the 3D models, and I was able to put the text directly on the model, play around with the transparency of the model, and then successfully import it into the room. So really good. Only downside, Vectary does charge some money, but I felt like it was a worthwhile charge. And I think I only paid for a couple of months and then just stopped my subscription because I'm not using it right now. But they're a really fantastic online resource for building 3D models very quickly and easily. It's very user-friendly. And one thing that I did include in here that I would encourage you all to do at some point is go to the feedback over here. The feedback banner here, when you click it, takes you to a Padlet board, and you can leave some feedback, and we share that directly with the students. And we tell the students, look at the power and potential of WebXR and how wide of an audience it can reach. Yeah, so, and then if you look over here, you'll see this is a 360 image I captured of Kodiak, and this is where I live. It's getting a little greener now as things are starting to bloom and blossom. But yeah, so any questions?
Is it Anthony? Is that right, Anthony?
Wow.
That's correct.
Someone's finally seen it.
I just wanted to say I think I've become friends with you on Twitter recently, and I'm funny to bump into you here. This is amazing. So I'll reach out to you and I'll have a lot more questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And go ahead.
Oh, well, I'm particularly, I work in Salem, Oregon, so I'm not too far away from you. Yeah, no, I'm really interested in working. I'm going to reach out to an art instructor who does mural art in some of our Latino Hispanic communities, and I think that anyway, I'm very impressed with your work, and you're inspiring me to do some more of my own.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on that, Anthony. This was one of the frames that when I saw, I really just kind of fell in love with. And one of the things that I really love about it is that, like, it's the emphasis is just on the students and their work, and it just provides a place for that to shine. Like, often when people are in frames, it's like they're talking about frame and how cool this or that feature is, and that's not really our goal with frame at all. The goal is to get people into experiences like this where you're just kind of awed at the stuff that's in there that isn't frame, that isn't the technology. It's the stuff that's on display there. It's the students, it's their work. And when I sent this to the Virbela staff and we had all the people on the frame team and the Virbela team walking around in here, their minds were just blown. It's the pieces of art on the wall, and they couldn't believe that it was students that was this old, and they just couldn't believe like the creativity on display. So this is definitely on my, my top 10 frames list for sure.
Thank you. Yeah,
Can I just add, listening to this conversation, as kind of organizer of the UniVirtual Experience, this is music to my ears. This is why we do this work, just for those kind of moments where one person is inspiring another person to do something that they hadn't thought of, they make a connection, and to watch people find each other, be inspired, and go do off new things, that's what we live for. So I'm just getting goosebumps listening to you guys talk. Wonderful. And I love this exhibition as well. And this is so, I would imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is quite achievable. I mean, you said the hard part was getting access to the work from other teachers, but actually bringing it in here and presenting it, that's what Frame is good at, right?
Yeah, it's extremely easy to develop spaces in here. I showed it to our art teacher at the high school, and I said, you know, if you provide me with content, I'll help you build a space. And she was like, well, I kind of want to try it myself. And so I gave her, you know, about a 10-minute tutorial, and she built a gallery. I don't think she's finished it yet. She is kind of the more the old school teaching methods, which is fine. But I plead and beg for content from teachers so I can create more experiences. And FrameVR, along with a lot of the other WebXR solutions, are just really fantastic for showcasing student work. And one thing that I do really like about FrameVR is that we're in a multi-user mode, which allows all of us to be in here at the same time. But if you want to share it with students and you want students to experience it, sometimes you want to be concerned about student privacy. And the incident that happened not that long ago kind of really shows why you need to be careful, especially students under 18. So FrameVR allows you to do a single user mode, which everyone is in that room as their own experience, which is fantastic. And then this Padlet board allows you to then reach out to a larger audience. And for me, the Padlet board is moderated, so I approve messages or not approve messages. But the single user mode, I think, is one of the coolest things, or one of the many cool things about FrameVR. But yeah, it's really, really simple to develop as long as you have a good graphic design software. And I did all of this. I put all the images together in Canva, which is probably one of the best image editing softwares for the web that's out there. And that's how I made, you know, the giraffe you see over there. All I did was I put a black line and saved it as a PNG, and I had to mess around with the length of the line and the size of the canvas. And then I create what looks like an image that's hanging off of the ceiling. So just play around. And to add to that, you know, I next year will be teaching immersive media classes at the high school, and I will be opening up these spaces for my students to develop experiences as well, and be able to share that with a larger audience. And there's one last thing I wanted to add that I did recently that was really successful, was I took a FrameVR space and I put either images or really simple low poly 3D models, and I hid them around around the campus, and they were linked out to clues, and students would have to use the clues to go back to the reading to find the answer to the clue. And then they had one final area, which was like a chest to unlock. They had to enter in the correct answers into a form that was linked to that chest. And then if they were to complete that form, then it's like an escape room. They unlocked the chest and they won accolades and hoorahs. But yeah, it really works well as a showcase space. It works really well and easy as an escape room space if you want to slap something together related to your content. It's just a really powerful and easy program to work with.
Wonderful, wonderful.
I have one question for you, Anthony. For generating the single image, so I think that each one of these walls is one image comprised of 8. What was the pixel density or the resolution that you picked?
Not accurate, but you know, when I brought it in, it was really small, and then I increased the size of it in FrameVR. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Gabe, but that still increases the size of the image. Like if you put in a 1020 by 780, but then you increase it in FrameVR, then the size of that image still increases. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't think the size of the file doesn't increase, but it can become a little bit more taxing on the rendering if you scale up an image really, really big. But it's not as bad as you might think. I mean, if your image is a decent size coming in, then scaling it up won't be too bad.
So the size of my file was 2,560 by 720, which is not big enough for the walls. So I did have to increase it pretty substantially to make it fit on the walls.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to comment on that too. You know, what I find, sorry, Gabe, I love FrameVR. This is awesome. I've been working in Mozilla Hubs a lot. They warn you about texture maps that are above 2048 pixels for low power devices like mobile. And so I wonder if that's a threshold, like just to avoid anything above about 2000 pixels.
Yeah, that's a great idea, and we definitely need to do a better job at warning people when they start getting above certain, you know, graphics budgets and stuff. It's certainly the case that I think a lot of iPhones struggle with any textures that are above 2K in a weird way. But yeah, that's solid feedback.
But I would think an image texture is, I don't know, is that any different than a flat image like this? I guess it isn't, right? The size.
Yeah, a lot of factors go in there, but if you're rocking images, yeah, I would try to keep them below probably 2K. I'm not sure. It just depends. Some people, they know that most of their audience will be on, you know, PC, but I think in your case, you're smart to assume, you know, as wide range of hardware and software as you can.
I do think that he could create another room with like 4K or 6K quality and invite audiences that are on computers only. That might be interesting to see it in a higher fidelity.
Oh yeah, that actually would make sense. You start with an entry room. That's kind of your lobby. And then you give users a choice. Are you on mobile? Click here. Are you on desktop? Click here. Do you have Mozilla gigabit connection? Click here. And so, yeah, it would vary. That would make sense.
Fantastic. What a lovely space. Have the kids been able to see this as well, or the artists, I mean, sorry?
Yeah, they've been able to view it. You know what's surprising is you show it to students and they're like, that's cool. Cool. You would think they go, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But it's kind of like they already live in this world anyways,
right.
With their devices. So it's like, oh yeah, a 3D space, that's cool. And you don't even need to teach them how to use it, how to interact, how to add things. They figure it out, right? On their own. But we as adults who like grew up with internet and technology kind of growing, we look at it and we go, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing since sliced bread. But students are meh. It's pretty cool. But
yeah,
really what the students want, I'm finding that the students really are hungry for is world building. They want to build world.
Interaction, yes.
World building. So if you give them this space to build their worlds, then they just go crazy. But then it's a really good exercise for the students and talk about, yeah, you want to throw in that crazy 500,000 K triangle 3D model in there, and then you wonder why the page isn't loading on your phone, and then you say, well, these are our current limitations, and we need to be able to find a way to work around that. So
Anthony, can I ask, or Daniel, can I ask? Daniel introduced me to Frame, and one of the things he did was he showed us some 360 photos from where he lives. And so if you click on the photosphere, I don't want to click on it, but if you do, can I?
Yeah. Click it.
So cool.
It's such a great effect, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it changes it for everyone. That's the benefit of the single
Beautiful
user
picture.
room, is people can choose to turn it off or not.
Yeah.
And I would it might be on the roadmap down the road for some adjustments to 360 images.
Okay, I will close it. I will close
This
it.
is
Just
amazing.
that's actually this is a brilliant segue to our last stop on the tour is
Wonderful.
the IVRPA, and Brian is going to be showing us the work that he's been doing there. I have added in our chat a link back to our campus where we started off again, and then I'll let Brian take us from there. So go ahead and click on the link in the chat, and we'll see you back at our campus.
Lovely. Mindful not to go over because of Steve's event, if that's okay.
Okay,
Cool.
What are we clicking on?
let's just wait. We're nearly everybody there now. I think we
Yeah.
have 13.
Wonderful.
Where are we going?
Okay, so the last frame is the IVRPA
Okay.
campus. So if you just click on this last frame here, IVRPA, and follow me over. Okay.
So this is the same campus, but with a different content, right?
Yep. So where do we go?
Yes, that's correct. So Brian here, you are still muted at the moment.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So so this is a space that Brian put together, and I will leave it to him to show some of what we got here.
Yes, as Daniel said, this is the same base environment that comes with Frame called the campus. So I've used this. This is a prototype, if you like, of a campus that we will probably use in a couple of different ways. One is obviously for meetings and for our conference in November, but initially I've designed it more as a kind of self study or review, or anybody who wants to just come in and look around. And it comprises at the moment of two different scenes. One is really, as the current scene you can see now, is more set up for a kind of conference use. And I'm going to switch frames fairly quickly now. Everybody's here to a different scene, the same frame. This is more of a kind of where people can come and look at some of the resources that we've accumulated over the years. The conferences that we've run every year, we have videos and various resources from. So if you'd like to follow me over to the main office, I'll show you some of the resources here. Okay. So this is really just an entrance view. Maybe I should use the gather. I'm going to try the gather me, but gather together button here, actually. See if we can get everybody through. This will bring everybody in, so hopefully.
Nice.
Cool.
Okay, so that's a feature in Frame where you can actually gather everybody together quickly. So this is just a lobby.
Not often.
Sorry? Hello.
I said you should do that very often.
Yes, indeed. So there's a lot of resources here. I won't go to explain them all, but the variety of the resources in here, actually, some of them link through to the pavilions on the other side. So if you were to click on the how-to tutorial, you would get to a pavilion on how to shoot 360 photography. Each of the rooms is set up for a continent. The idea is that we would have regional groups that could meet in those rooms, and there's some kind of posters on the walls related to those regions. There's posters about current events. We're planning an event in June on WebXR, which Gabe's going to be speaking at, but also we have a number of other interesting speakers. You can see details on that wall. And then there's links to past conference information. If you click on any of the posters, you'll get to another pavilion about past conferences. So that's one aspect of it. I think what I'd like to do is just to show you an overview of the campus. And to do that, if you'd like to follow me out the door, we're just going to go and round to the right here. You'll see there's a little ramp that goes up the side of the building. I'm going to gather everybody here again just to see if we can get everybody here quickly. There's no need to go up the ramp, because if you click on the magic button, which says roof access, you should find you're on the roof pretty quickly. So let me just turn off the edit mode and then click on the roof access button. And there we go. Now I can't hear anybody. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah,
Great.
I can hear you.
Okay, good.
I can hear you.
Everybody's being very quiet.
This is excellent.
If you'd like to just look
Brian,
over-
I just
look
saw
over the-
that flying animated model on Sketchfab not long ago. I can't believe you have it in this environment.
Yes, it's very small. It's a phoenix. It was kind of symbolic, really, rising from the ashes of COVID or whatever. But you can see an overview of the campus and the pavilions that I was talking about on one side, where we've got a variety of displays and videos. And if you look around, I've created a kind of environment with a 360 photograph of a French chateau. So the background is that.
It looks like the Chenesay.
It is, I think. Yeah, I forget. Yeah.
I just visited there 2 years ago.
And if you look over to your right, you'll see there's a fountain. And I, again, just put a little animation of a fountain in there as well. So again, if I flip scenes, you'll get a quick view of the different configurations that we can set it up in. The first one is this conference mode, where I've brought in a small building on the left here, where we can add additional content or meetings. And obviously there's an amphitheater at the back as well. And then if I flip to the other scenes, you'll see the different options there again. So if you'd like to take a picture of this or click on the camera, you'll find yourself back on the ground again. So just click on if you can back up and see this camera in front of me, click on the camera and we'll be back down on the main area. Okay, everybody here? Yeah, here they come.
Quick question.
Okay, I'm going to gather you all, so we'll just move things forward a bit. Okay, one more. Yes, I'll bring him down with us. Okay, so just to finish off, I'll just take you into one of the pavilions. Flip back and show you just the content sort of area that I have developed. So in this first pavilion here called We Are VR, there's just a series of short interviews with various members about their presentations.
You want to gather us again? Brian, you want to gather us?
Yeah.
Appreciate it and to be able to talk and have great conversations with other professionals. So that's great. I'm looking forward to see your next project. Thank you very much. Thanks. I'm Natalie Mass from Native VR from San Francisco. So you had a great talk about your gender or supporting women in the world. So I'm looking and discussing with potential partners for those kind of projects.
Okay, so we're short of time, but there's a number of video interviews with members about their presentations or their attendance at the conference, and then there's several other pavilions with more resources, some about how to take 360 photography or video, and about past events with further details linked to those. So that's the kind of layout I've got at the moment. And as I said, this is very much a prototype which we haven't used yet, which I'm developing for our next meetings and conference. Whoops, sorry. So just roam around or ask questions, really. You're welcome.
Brian, this is really amazing. Thank you for sharing with us today. I'm so excited. You're giving me some really concrete models to look at because I'm diving right into 360. I just purchased an Insta360 1R Twin Edition.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm very excited to also be working on maybe some cultural heritage preservation projects. So I've seen some great examples of LiDAR combined with photospheres.
Sure. Yes, I mean that's the next stage really, is moving from 360 into 3D, and that's a big sort of area of experimentation and development at the moment, where you can take a 360 sphere and actually create a 360 model out of it.
Yeah.
Can I share a resource that I discovered that I don't think is very well known? And that is a little application you can download for free called iStreetView Downloader.
Oh, right.
iStreetView Downloader. Yeah. It's a program that lets you essentially download any of these Street View images available, of which there must be hundreds of millions. If you think of all of Street View, and all of the locations you can visit, this program lets you access them. The only thing I will say is the guy who makes it available says this as well, that you have to consider kind of usage rights.
Right.
So you're obviously taking stuff from Google, possibly private. So you can access them. Just consider how you use them. But the availability of having all of Street View that you can bring in as a photosphere and show and share, it's quite powerful.
Will you put that in the chat, Daniel?
Yeah, let me do it now.
Great.
Yeah, Daniel introduced that to me as well. And I just wanted to mention, Daniel's right. All you need to do is give attribution when you find users have created their own photospheres. But for example, I went to some popular places like the Eiffel Tower or the Arc de Triomphe, and I immediately found so many photospheres that people had taken with really high quality 360 cameras and geolocated them on Google Maps.
Yeah.
So you can download any of those photospheres as well as the Street View images.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm putting it in the chat here now. Grab it quickly because I am mindful of Steve Guinup's event starting in just 1 minute.
1 minute.
So please do listen to him. Steve Guinup has been in this industry. He's been innovating for 2 or 3 decades before VR was a thing for most people. So do check his event out. It'll be on our calendar. Is the link to find it there. Thank you so much, guys. Before we go, thank you to the team who've put this showcase on. I think I've learned a lot. I think from the conversations, I can tell other people are inspired with new ideas. That's exactly why we do it. So I'm just going to close this event down and say a big, huge thank you to our hosts today, to everybody who visited, and in particular to Tony Cute Studios for filming this event and other events throughout the conference. Thank you to our sponsors. Hope to see you at Steve Guinup's event. Thank you. And Tony, you can end the recording now.